Well, the general election is now just 5 weeks away, Sean. It's crazy. But many Americans feel that it may take a bit longer to find out who will be in the White House come next year. And according to a new Politico Morning Consult poll, only 20% think the winner will be decided on election night, and half think it will take more than a week. And on top of that, many have been concerned about the integrity of this election, especially when you have reports out like this one. The Minneapolis Police Department is investigating unsubstantiated claims by Project Veritas that people with ties to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar are illegally ballot harvesting before the election by exchanging cash for votes. To discuss, let's bring in our company political analyst Mark Halprin and politics lecturer at Princeton University and Newsmax contributor Lauren Wright. Welcome.
Good to be here.
All right, I'm excited. Mark and I will be on the desk tonight as we break down the debate. So excited to see everyone a little bit longer tonight. Mark, let me start with you. How concerned are you? I know that we haven't substantiated this Project Veritas video showing people buying votes and ballot harvesting in Minnesota, but the president keeps harping on this issue of mail-in ballots being, subject to fraud. And now we're seeing a lot of people saying we don't think we're going to see the winner on election night. So how concerned are you that sowing these seeds of concern into the election is going to make it very hard to have a high degree of integrity in the outcome of the election?
I'm extremely concerned, although I am heartened by that poll. It seems to me that's about the greatest public education in the history of the country. We've had a drumbeat of stories warning people, don't expect the result on election night. I think it's great if that poll's accurate, that so many people think it's a possibility. I am a big advocate of the governors dealing with this. You're never going to control, you're never going to figure out in the national press or the national government what goes on in these states, but we better be ready. The president's overstated the case, the Democrats are understating the case. This is a potential problem for the integrity of the election.
When you say that, though, Mark, just be clear. Which problem are you referring to? The ballot harvesting and the issues that the Project Veritas come up, or not knowing on election night? Which is your concern?
I'm concerned about the combination, because the longer the election results are in doubt in any state that's going to decide who gets to 270 electoral votes, the more anything, questions about ballot access and ballot integrity are going to be blown up on Twitter, on social media, on Facebook, on cable, in a way that is going to undermine the results of the election. So the longer it takes, the more things can become a problem. And as I said, I think the Democrats would be smart to start to talk about potential problems, not just reject what the president's saying out of hand. And the president would do the country a favor if he stopped emphasizing this as pretty much the only aspect of the election he talks about.
You know, Lauren, the thing that's interesting that I don't know that a lot of people realize is that the RNC was actually, up until last cycle, actually barred by law from being involved in election day poll watching and stuff because of a court settlement they made based off a New Jersey case in the 1980s. So there's been all these issues of fraud that have been coming up over the years, but the RNC has had to take a step back and to say, we can't discuss them because of the court ruling that went against us. How much more do you think, if now people are looking out for this, to Mark's point, are you concerned that we may have an election where people believe that there was a lot of fraud that existed and there's no way to either disprove it or to positively prove it?
Well, I really hope not. And what seems to be happening is a lot of Republicans and Democrats mistrust this election for different reasons. President Trump supporters seem to believe there's widespread fraud, which there, of course, is not. We are very good at tracking that down, and we have an estimate on the bounds of what that typically looks like. It's about 0.3%. Democrats, on the other hand, now don't trust the Postal Service. And, a federal judge just ruled that they have to not follow through on those changes that DeJoy planned to make. So I hope that the best we can do is trust our system, like Mark said, at the state level, where election results are verified in the same manner every single time. And on election night, we often don't know the answer.
In 2000, we saw 300 votes make a difference in Florida, which ultimately made a difference in who was president. Last time in Michigan, we had 10,000 votes decide who the winner was in Michigan. In Pennsylvania, that was 40,000. In Wisconsin, it was 23,000. So the question I have is, like, at what number does it start to be concerning when we hear about ballots being discarded or thrown in things? And I'm being serious about this because it's one thing to say, okay, well, the Democrats dismissed the 9 military ballots in Pennsylvania the other day, but what number starts to get people at a level in which they do need to be concerned?
Well, I'm not sure that's true. I mean, I heard that widely reported about the 9 ballots on all kinds of networks by, people of all kinds of political stripes. And we really do track it down the same way we do bank or credit card fraud. We have a lot of mechanisms in place. We know what we're doing. And so, yes, you're right when we start to talk about hundreds or thousands, although that's not what we've seen in the past. I don't think it's good to scare people unnecessarily, and we don't really know what's going to happen yet. We have a month now where the polls could change very much. They don't become predictive until the final days before an election. And so we don't exactly know what turnout will be. We know we have close presidential elections in this country, but we don't have enough information yet, Sean.
And I think, not to correct you, Lauren, but I do think we did see those 1.6 thousand mislabeled ballots in New Jersey. So it is in the thousands now. So I agree that we shouldn't try to scare people, but we should educate them. And when we're seeing numbers like that, that is concerning. We only have just a little bit of time here. So before we go, Mark, I want to get, you're going to be on our debate coverage tonight. So I want to get your take on this. But what are you going to be looking out for this debate in just a couple hours?
Well, obviously, Chris Wallace has an extraordinary amount of influence with how this goes, but I'm looking to see what arguments the president makes. Joe Biden has a simple message. He says the president's failed, particularly on the pandemic. I want to see what the president's simple message. He had a simple message 4 years ago. I want to see what his simple message is tonight.
All right, Lauren, I'll give you the last word here. What are you looking out for?
You know what? I think it might be more boring than we think. Joe Biden, I don't think he's going to try to emulate President Trump's style. That's its own thing. He's an entertainer. If you're not an entertainer, you can't try to be one. And I think we saw Hillary Clinton make that mistake in a couple of instances in the debates. We know they don't tend to matter on average, but I think I'm hoping it will be more civil and more policy focused than we anticipate.
All right, well, just a few hours till we see it.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting, I will say this to Lauren's point, I think this is going to be more of a show than turning anyone. I think more people know who they're voting for. They're tuning in to watch their person than they are trying to figure out how to vote. So it's more of a show and firing up your base. And I think more people have anything to lose than to gain tonight.
That's
All right,
right.
Mark, Lauren, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
And hope to have you guys back again soon. Sean and I will be right back with our thoughts on tonight's debate.